Hello my dear students, I hope you all are doing fine. Welcome to today's online learning session, and today's session is on Ielts. What is Ielts? Ielts is International English Language Testing System. Now you must be having a lot of questions about it. So in today's session, all your generic questions would be solved. So let's start. First of all, you must be having questions that what is Ielts? Where do we appear for this paper? Why do we appear for this paper? How to appear for this paper? When to appear for this paper? And who all can appear for this paper? So let's start with all your questions. So what is Ielts? Ielts is an international English language testing system. So next question is, are there any other English language testing system? Yes, depending on your interest, there are tests like TOEFL, TOEIC, BEC, FCE, and many other exist for your choice. Now why Ielts? Why do we appear for Ielts? Ielts is recognized by every English-speaking country as a test of English proficiency, and although other tests are similar, they may have a particular focus. For example, TOEFL is focused in North America. What else can I tell you about Ielts? Ielts has the option of taking the learner in a specific direction. It has an academic paper as well as a general paper. Now you must be thinking, suppose if you want to become a doctor and you want to go abroad for your studies, so which paper would you appear for, academic or general? In this case, you would appear for the academic paper. Now if you wish to live and work abroad, then you would appear for the general paper. Now, where can you get this Ielts test? Now, there is an Ielts test center in over 125 countries with test dates average 50 per year in over 500 locations. So it's very easy to get yourself registered for the Ielts paper. Now you must be thinking that is the Ielts test easy and what is the passing score? Now let me tell you here that there is no passing score for Ielts. Now as you know that this is an English proficiency, so depending of the pass score required by the immigration or the employer of the university or wherever you want to work, you need a particular band score. Now in my coming slides we would be discussing about the chart that what band scores are. For major English-speaking countries, you need 6.5 bands, and for universities, you need at least 7 band score. Universities like Oxford University, it requires 7 band score if you wish to study there. Now this is your Ielts band score, as you can see, which ranges from 2 to 9. So 9 is the best score and 2 is for the intermediate users. Now if you're an expert user of language, of all the 4 skills, that means you have a very good command over the language. In this case, you may get 9 band score. But again, remember children, no matter you're not that proficient in the language skills, but with regular practice, you can increase your band score. So before appearing for the paper, you should practice and practice. Now suppose if you get 8 band score, this shows that you're a very good user of English language and you can very smartly handle the complex details and argumentation. The 7 band score holder has the operational command over the language, though with occasional inaccuracies, inappropriateness and misunderstanding in some situations, generally handles complex language well and understands detailed reasoning. A 6 band holder is a competent user. Similarly, 5 is a modest user. 4th is a very limited user. 3 is extremely limited user. That means you can only convey and understand the general meaning of a text. And 2 is the intermediate user. That means you are not familiar with the language. Let's move ahead. Now what is the Ielts exam pattern? What is being tested here? So basically your 4 language skills, which is listening, reading, writing and speaking, are being tested in this paper. Now your listening is for 30 minutes, reading is for 60 minutes, writing is for 60 minutes, and your speaking assessment, which is a face-to-face conversation by an Ielts examiner, is from 11 to 14 minutes. Now your listening varies from, it doesn't vary from the general and academic section. So in this case, you have 4 sections with 40 questions. The main difference lies between the reading section and the writing section. Now in this case, you have 3 sections with 40 questions. In the writing section, you have 2 tasks, which ranges from 100 to 250 words. And your speaking assessment had 3 parts. So first is your introductory section, just to make you comfortable with the examiner. And the second is the cue card section, where 1 minute is given you on a very generic topic, and then you have to speak for 2 minutes. And then depending on that particular topic, there is a discussion with the examiner. So this particular section has 3 parts. Now let's study this in detail. Now here on the screen you can see that IELTS Academic and IELTS General Training is very clearly explained. So let's first read about the IELTS Academic section. Now the IELTS Academic module measures English language proficiency needed for an academic, higher education environment. The task and text are accessible to all test takers irrespective of their subject focus. So whatever subject you have, whatever choices you have, whatever stream you have to appear for all these 4 sections if you wish to study abroad for your higher education. So your listening, as I've already told you, is for 30 minutes, and here you listen to 4 recorded monologues and conversations, and according to that you have to transfer your answers on your answer script. Now your reading section is for 60 minutes, and there are 3 long reading passages with tasks, and these tasks range from descriptive to factual to discursive to analytical. Now it also includes non-verbal materials such as diagrams, graphs and illustrations, where you have to either fill up these diagrams, or you have to explain them, or you have to find the best heading. Now all these texts are very authentic. That means they're taken from books, journals and newspaper. Coming to the writing section of the IELTS Academic, your writing is for 60 minutes, and your writing task is of at least 150 words. The first writing task, where the candidate must summarize, describe or explain a table, a graph, a chart or a diagram. So you should be very clear with this, that for writing section you need a very strong vocabulary, so you need to practice well in that. The second task is the short essay task, which is at least for 250 words. And the last is the speaking assessment, which we have already discussed in the previous slide. Moving on the IELTS General Training session, it is basically to measure your English language proficiency in a practical and everyday context, because the basic purpose of you appearing for this paper is that you wish to settle abroad, you wish to work abroad. So depending on the workplace and social situations, you just need to have a basic language proficiency. Now your listening remains the same. The 4 recording monologues and conversations remain the same, and the time remains the same. The difference comes here in the reading section. Now here the 3 reading passages with tasks section 1, 2 and 3 are here. Section 1 contains 2 to 3 short factual texts. Section 2 contains 2 short work-related factual texts. And section 3 contains 1 longer text on a topic of general interest. Now all these texts, as I've already told you, are authentic, and they are taken from company books or official documents or books or newspaper. Now again, a variation is here in the writing section, because here in the general section you just have 2 tasks: letter writing task, which is of 150 words, and short essay, which is again for 250 words. And last is the speaking assessment, which again remains the same as discussed in the previous slide. So let's move ahead. I hope that till now everything is very clear to you, that what is IELTS, and what 2 forms of IELTS papers are there, general and academics, and what is the basic difference between these 2 papers. So let's move ahead. Now this I've already discussed with you, that it is a test of 4 skills, which is listening and reading. And reading, there's a difference in the academic and the general version depending on your interest. So the texts differ here. Then your writing section also, I've discussed that. Here I would like to discuss in detail. Suppose if you are appearing for the academic version, then your task 1 is where a graph or a table or a chart or an illustration is given, and then you're asked to describe it or summarize it or to explain it in your own words. and you may be asked to describe and explain the data, describe the stages of the process, and what is the difference or the contrast there. The task 2, here the test takers are asked to write an essay in response to a point of view, an argument, or a problem. Now the responses to both the tasks must be written in a formal style. Now in case of the general IELTS paper, the task 1 is here the test takers are presented with a situation and are asked to write a letter requesting information or explaining the situation. The letter may be personal and it may be semi-formal or formal in style. The text 2, which is the task 2 of the writing section, the test takers are asked to write an essay in response to a point of view, argument, or problem. The essay can be slightly more personal in style than the writing academic session of the task 2. Speaking, I've already discussed with you that it has 3 parts. That first is the introduction session, which is from 4 to 5 minutes. The second is the cue card section, where 1 minute is given for the preparation and you have to speak for at least 2 minutes. Now remember, here you don't have to stop until unless the examiner asks you to stop. So you have to continuously speak for 2 minutes. And the last is again a discussion between you and the examiner, which is connected to the topic which you have already picked up in the second part of the speaking assessment. Now how are you going to get a band score? Suppose you get 40 on 40, so your band score would be 9. In case of 39, it would be 8.5. In a range of 37 to 38, it would be 8. 36, it would be 7.5, and so on. So this is a basic band score which you will be getting in your correct answers. Let me discuss this in detail. So suppose in listening you get 6.5, in reading you get 6.5, in writing you get 5, and in speaking you get 7. So overall, by adding all the 4 components, it's become 6.25, and the round off would be, the band score would be 6.5. Now suppose your band score, suppose your assessment for listening didn't go well and you score 4 there. In reading you get 3.5, in writing you get 4, in speaking you get 4, then the overall average of the 4 components would be 3.875. If we round off, it would be a 4 band score, which is not good. And the last, suppose the test taker gets 6.5 in listening, 6.5 in reading, 5.5 in writing, and 6 in speaking. So the average would be 6.125, and if we round off, it would be a 6 band score. Now, what choices do you have for appearing this paper? Let me tell you here, there are 2 choices, the pen and paper assessment and the computer-based assessment. Now the pattern remains the same. So listening, reading, writing remains same in your computer-based assessment as well as in your pen and paper assessment. And the speaking remains the same, which is face-to-face and which is by a certified IELTS examiner. Now the difference lies between the result which is being declared. In case of your computer-based assessment, the result is declared very soon, which is within 3 to 5 days. And in your pen and paper assessment, it takes around 13 days to declare your result. Now you can easily book and get the registration done for both the papers, whether computer-based or pen and paper assessment. Now the test availability is up to 7 days a week, and for pen and paper assessment it is up to 48 days per week, Thursdays and Saturdays. Now length of the test remains the same, so there is no difference there. Now you must be thinking of that what is the IELTS test fee. So whether you sit for the computer-based assessment or for the pen and paper assessment, the fee remains almost the same, which is 15,500, and you can easily book on the portal. Now in my last 2 slides, I would be discussing about that what are the positive and the negative aspects of both the papers, whether you sit for the computer-based or for the pen and paper. So let's see that what are the benefits and loss of writing on the computer. First, let's see what are the benefits of appearing for the computer-based assessment. So if your handwriting is very difficult for others to read, it is best to appear for the computer-based assessment. Now, as you know that it can be easily edited, Now there is no need to count the words because it is already counted. Now often these exam centers are less crowded because generally students prefer giving the pen and paper assessment than the computer based assessment, so you don't find a crowd there. Now you can get the exam result for yourself very soon, as soon as possible. Now what are the disadvantages of appearing the computer based assessment is that you shouldn't choose this if you cannot see the computer screen for a long time. So if you have a problem with your eyesight, you should never go for the computer based assessment. Now this will not work if your typing skills are very poor, and because when others type their answers, there should be no noise there, because that noise should sometimes bother you. Next is, if you are not used to computers at all, then you may not be right to choose this. Very clear. And repeated reading can cause an eye strain because you have to scroll up and down to read the text very carefully. Now let's see that what are the benefits and what are the disadvantages of the pen and paper assessment. So first let's talk about the benefits of giving the pen and paper IELTS assessment. Now here, which is very important, is that you can highlight the keywords when you are appearing for this pen and paper assessment, and it is very important for your understanding. You can also read and reread the paper again. Noise should not be too high when writing on a paper, so your attention is not distracted. This is a good choice if your typing skills are very low. And if you are not at all computer literate, then you are at a good choice for appearing for the pen and paper assessment. Now, what are the disadvantages? Now, if your handwriting is difficult for others to read, then your score may drop. If written incorrectly, it should be erased and erased again and again. If you have to count the words, you have to count the words here in the writing section in the pen and paper assessment. Now often these exam centers are overcrowded because most of the students, they appear for the pen and paper assessment. And last, that you have to wait for at least 13 days to get your final result. So this was all for today, and I hope you enjoyed the session. The general orientation session for IELTS was very clear to you. And don't worry, if you still have any doubt, you can refer my video again. Now in my coming videos, children, I would be sharing all the skills individually. We'll be discussing about the typology of questions and what are the tips you have to keep in mind while appearing for this particular paper. Now before ending today's video, I have a very beautiful quote for you by Les Brown, and he quotes that life takes on meaning when you become motivated, set goals and charge after them in an unstoppable manner. So don't be afraid of any hurdles, don't be afraid of any obstacles in your life. Just keep on trying, never give up, and definitely you are going to achieve success. With this, I end my video. I hope you liked it. So till then, we meet. Stay hydrated, take care of yourself, stay blessed, respect your elders, love your parents, and be focused in life. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.